Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo alongside you guys. We have another striker profile to go after. This one is coming in a little bit late. We apologize for that. But Benjamin Šeško, Matt, talk about a better time to talk about a talented striker like this after his performance against Real Madrid, which was pretty good. Unfortunately, had a goal ruled out. But here we are. This is one of the names that has been linked to Milan for quite some time. There's around a 50 million euro release clause is the rumor for him. We saw his move from Salzburg to RB Leipzig. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but he's just 20 years of age, Matt. He's scored in his past few matches for Leipzig in Bundesliga, so he's really starting to get on right now. How much have you seen of Šeško? How much do you like this profile? Do you think he would fit into Serie A? There's a wealth of experience so far for a player at his age.
I like the player a lot. I can't say I've watched him more than some of the more Bundesliga driven journalists, writers that we see on Twitter. And Manuel Veth is the one we had on regularly for the State of Play podcast. Go check him out; he's a great source. Several others for German football. So I haven't really been able to watch him outside of Champions League matches. Which, for Leipzig, I think, look, they're a team that plays very appealing football. Their projects are always very appealing for a lot of the youth and younger players that they have. Each time you look at them line up against some of these dominant sides, they're competitive. They play a really good style of football. And Benjamin Šeško, as you mentioned, very young, still has a great amount of growth ahead of him. But he's also accomplished quite a bit as a young player, and he's accrued a lot of important experience in these European competitions. So I think that, look, if we're talking strictly purely on whether I like the player and would he be a fit for Milan and for Italian football, because for strikers, we've heard countless testimonials how players have come to Italy and they always say it's the toughest league to score in. I don't think that's anything different. And I think you'll start to see, a lot of these, these players, hopefully they start to kick on and they start to make an impact here. Yeah. But I think ultimately, it's more of a not, do I like the players? Do I think it's possible for us? And do I think it's possible for the league? Because I think bigger picture here, I see more of these players potentially leaving Serie A than actually coming in because of the absence now of the growth decree, but also 50 million would be a lot for any Serie A club to spend on one player now. I mean, we don't really see it as outside of maybe one or two clubs. And until Milan are showing that they'll break that threshold for a player that they truly do like.
And
because remember,
guys,
a couple years ago when there were rumblings and conversations about Milan should go after Dusan Vlahovic and Comiso and Fiorentina, they wanted 50 to 60 million. Everyone was like, well, we like him, but do you know they're not going to do that? And then you wait a year or 6-7 months, and then he went to Juventus, and it was a much higher fee. So if Martino, you like him, like I like him, like a lot of Milan fans like him and feel that he could be a fit for us, the time is to get him now. It might be a steep price, but if this is truly the guy you've earmarked for a while, and this is truly the guy that you think can lead the front line going forward, then you go in this summer and you bring him in, because you wait 6 months, not only the price is going to go up, but you're going to have a ton of competition for him that it's going to be impossible to beat.
I think already what he's just been showing, his track record in the Champions League, like his ceiling is sky high. It's absolutely insane. I'm stunned that there was more conversation about a team triggering that 50 million. Again, Milan's issue is going to be the wage battle. It's not really so much so about the release clause. I think Milan could pay that if they were to choose to do so. But again, you're really talking about it's more advantageous with Joshua Zirkzee within the league already, having those players like Salamakers being involved in that, and who knows how people value Lorenzo Colombo. But when you talk about that, again, if you just watch this guy play, physically, he is a phenomenal athlete, like really a world-class athlete when it comes to just his movement alone. So when you have someone like that adapting to Serie A, that's going to make things a bit easier. Now, as far as navigating one-on-ones with other players, that's always going to be proven to be difficult, especially in Serie A. You even hear Cristiano Ronaldo talk about it. One of the greatest goal scorers, if not the greatest of all time, says stuff like that. You know it's going to be difficult. But I just think with the players that they could provide around Benjamin Šeško, with the amount of time that where we're looking at Milan in this situation, right, where you're dead on about them wanting to be able to pay up that money to be okay with investing 50 million, because again, that's a record fee for Milan.
Yeah.
Rui Costa is still the record fee. It's been 20 years. When are Milan finally going to make that sort of advantageous move to get someone in, right? Like there was the Andre Silvas of the world, even Piontek and Paqueta, they were 35 million range, right? And I know sometimes fans get a little scared off because players cost certain money. But when you look at some of the top teams within Serie A and other teams around the world, right? We're talking about Milan here. This isn't some sort of smaller club. We see how much it paid off for Napoli twice with Gonzalo Higuain, and then again with Victor Osimhen.
Mhm.
Right now, it hasn't fully paid off with Vlahovic and Juve, but there's different reasons for that. And again, what you see with Inter going in for Lukaku, they raise your ceiling as a club,
Yeah.
and how much impact that they can make. Giroud is great, right? In terms of him collecting those assists and scoring goals, and you love to see it on paper. But there's so many other nuances to why Giroud is kind of holding back Milan in certain situations. You see it on counterattacks. You kind of see it in certain link-up plays because his legs still aren't there. When you have someone like Benjamin Sesko, who has proven it in the Champions League, he has proven it in a top 5 league. And again, at Salzburg, a place that Milan have been familiar shopping with Noah Okafor. And again, he was also asked about it, just a little bit dismissive. This is a guy for me, and 50 million is also not crazy for the striker market. Considering potential here and proof that he is talented enough to play in these leagues, 50 million is nothing for me. What I'm worried about is teams other than Milan also know this. What if Arsenal come in the conversation? What if another Premier League club comes in the conversation here? I don't really foresee. I mean, Real Madrid are probably going to get Kylian Mbappe. PSG, I think, are going for Victor Osimhen. Maybe you see Napoli come in after they recollect some of that money. They would definitely do that. I wouldn't be surprised by it. But I think this is a move that Milan should try and be aggressive about. Get him on fair enough wages where it's somewhere near 3.5 million net per season. I think that's something that you could pull off. So again, is Benjamin Sesko worth a 50 million euro release clause, in your opinion, giving Milan's situation, man?
Probably. I mean, I think Milan have been burned. You notice Milan have been burned so many times in the past when it's come to player transfer fees around breaking the record transfer fee.
Yeah.
Piontek, Paqueta, and people are kind of get like a little gun shot, like, maybe we should go for the safer guy. Go for someone for 25 million, 20 million. And it might work, but ultimately, you have to be, again, I'm going to quote Paolo Maldini last year in the semifinal against Inter. We have a good moment here. We have to be brave, right? And I think sometimes you have to look at the moment and opportunity and think, this could be the guy that leads us forward. If we truly believe in our scouting and we truly believe the players that are, or the scouts, the people supporting the scouting and supporting our director are looking at this player and saying, we've looked at him for a while, this is our guy. I think it's a reflection of what you're doing in the market, that you believe in your guys to go out and get the guy that you think is the right man for the job. So with all that being said, I think it would be a great opportunity for Milan. As you just mentioned, this might be that one summer for the first time in a while where Milan don't have to get 7, 8 guys. They did more or less of that last year. They've built a good foundation here. I will say this, though. Maybe this is one of those instances where Milan are in a position where maybe they sell. Maybe if they're forced into a position where they have to sell Maignan because they can't agree on a contract, do they take that money, get Šeško, and then get another keeper? Like, I don't know if Milan are going to be quite in the position where they're going to go and spend 50 million on a singular player without compromising someone within the squad. It seems to me Cardinal, it seems to me Ferlani and Moncada and all the people.
Yeah,
that's kind of like more or less the approach. I'm hoping it's not, because if you're able to keep these players and add a Šeško onto it, I think you're raising that bar that much more. And we know, Martino, I kind of look at the striker position, and if you're able to get someone so prolific and so consistent, I think it can move the needle in many ways as much as a great quarterback can move the needle in the NFL, or a great point guard or a great shooting guard in the NBA. So if you're able to get a Šeško, I mean, you don't think that's going to elevate Rafael Leao? You don't think that's going to elevate Pulisic? You don't think that's
Look,
going to
look,
make us
look what like
more
a
vocal?
38-year-old Zlatan did. I mean, you're
Yeah.
dead on though. Like it
But
completely changes the conversation. Like we look at like all these other squads that have won or
look
been
at
more
Inter. Look at
consistent
Inter under
winners.
Conte.
Yeah,
They had a very good team. But when they had Lukaku, Conte, and Lautaro Barella, like that core was like the foundation. And they had a great
they soared.
defense. Yes, but
Yeah.
that connection between having that lethal scoring player or scoring players with that great coach that can elevate them. I mean, the one thing that kind of I have to question a little bit is if we somehow do stay with Pioli. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to be the thing.
Yeah.
Do you really think Pioli's the type of guy to get a Šeško and develop him to be this world-class player? Because people have been asking a lot of questions about whether Stefano Pioli can develop players. Look what happened with the Catalare. Look what happened with some of the other players. They haven't been able to quite maybe move that next level. Now, certain players have been the exception, right? Teo, Rafa, Magnon, like talent's talent. It's gonna shine through. But those players that might need more seasoning, they might need to adapt and take that more time to adapt. Do you think Pioli, my question back over to you, and that's my final thing, is do you think if it is Pioli next year and not a Conte, not a Motta, do you think that Pioli is the type of manager to get a Šeško and to raise his profile and to have him be the guy? Or do you feel there's concern that this might be another flop sign?
No, I wouldn't. Here's the thing with like CDK, for example.
Yeah.
Pioli would have had to have compromised his starting formation to adapt to CDK, right? He thought he could play him as a 10. He's not really a 10. He tried playing him on the right wing. He's better when he's closer to goal, not out wide, and especially what Pioli asked for certain right wingers in the system with the 4-2-3-1, right?
Mhm.
Mind you, we're kind of seeing it with Pulisic right now. With Šeško, it's you're our number 9. You're our target man.
Yeah.
We need you to get 20 goals. We're plugging you in. You have Pulisic around you. If they stick with the 4-2-3-1, there's Loftus-Cheek behind you, and then you have Rafa on the left.
I'm almost happy that I think CDK's, not to cut you off, but I think CDK, the conversation coming into Milan was he's versatile. And sometimes when you have too much versatility, we'll throw him out wide. We'll throw him as a second striker.
He handled everybody had a fault. CDK is different. It's a longer conversation.
Yeah.
We've done it. I don't want to get back into
but I'm just
I know, but it's just
yeah.
it's Šeško is different. And to just stick on to Šeško, it's someone like you mentioned. There's certain games, right, where Zlatan was doing it not only in the year we won the Scudetto or the year prior to that, where you're like, okay, this one's a tough, cagey match. We need something from somebody. You have to step up. Yeah. And the greatest of players and the greatest of goal scorers score nothing out of something, or score from whatever the phrase is, right?
Something from nothing.
I think I had it right. So we're 1 for 1 on botched phrases today. So with that, I just think that's a guy you got to grab. And in comparison to Joshua Zirkzee, and we talked about it in the video, and go watch the video again if you have not, guys. He's great at everything except the goal scoring. Whereas Šeško is actually really good in other areas and a really good pressing forward as well. Mm-hmm. Quality on the ball. There is just this ceiling here is insane. This ceiling here is Capocannoniere. Okay. There's a guy who, changes the way you have to just defend Milan in general. We're talking about possible lack of doubling on Rafael Leao now, right? Like, because he's that much more dangerous. There's just so many different things when you have a young and influential striker like this, that even if Pioli were to kind of want to change certain things up, or if another manager came in, they would be weary of it. But for me, there's so many other clubs that want more proven players. And this is why Milan going down the path that they've been going down of keep making UCL, keep stacking up what you can, sell side players if you need to, right? Pobega, I think that's somebody you see leave this coming summer. Florenzi is not, even if he were to stay, you're not paying him $3 million net. There's also wage relief coming, okay? And on top of sales, Salamakers on his way out as well.
Probably.
I think there is serious potential here that they trigger this. It's just gonna come down to wages. I truly believe that. And honestly, with the rumors that have been swirling now, economically, I understand why it makes more sense for Joshua Zirkzee. But again, Benjamin Šeško for me would be one of the best signings that they've had for a player that's kind of been on top of the radar in a couple of years. I just think he has the ability to change the title race completely. And again, we're talking about a side who does create a lot of chances, does score a good amount, but we always leave ourselves saying we should have had more. And if
Mhm.
you can get a guy who can get you more, then you do it
Yeah.
because there's nothing more valuable in this sport than goals. So that's my final thought on that. Anything else, Matt, before we head on out?
No, I just hope we get a striker this year. I hope it's not a
Guarantees you 15
conversation.
goals in the league.
I hope it's not a conversation of, let's run it back with Giroud. He wants to stay
No,
another
no way.
year.
No way they
And
do
then
it.
it's
No way.
Jovic. Oh, Jovic looked good, and he's cheap. We can add that.
Nah,
We
not
can
a chance
spend
they do
elsewhere.
that.
I hope it's not that. I hope it's
And
not
not a
that.
chance. Not a chance is that. I'd be willing to bet a good amount of money on that they won't do that.
All right.
But yeah, other than that, we appreciate you guys so much. We'll see what other profiles of players that we can go after this coming summer. Maybe shift over to midfielders, maybe some right backs. Who knows? But we appreciate you guys so much. Again, that Milan podcast. Like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. At Martino Puccio on everywhere, basically social media wise, and at Matt underscore Santangelo on Twitter and at AC Milan Bros. We really appreciate all the help. And thank you guys so much for listening on audio and video. So take care.